Hello, my name is Orion Hunter. I'm a photographer based in Tempe, Arizona. I look forward to showing you my art. Now, I started photography in high school. I bought a film camera, I shot on film, that's how I learned photography, and so I used the camera as a way to document my daily life. And that led into sports photography. I was a cross country runner, I was a pole vaulter, and so I photographed what was around me. And I thoroughly enjoyed how having a camera with me allowed me to meet and connect with so many new people. So I really liked pole vaulting. I went out and I joined a club down in Queen Creek, Arizona. And I got really close with the guys over there. I started photographing them during their workouts. I started photographing them at their home practice meets and just generally when they were practicing. But then I started joining them at meets over at ASU's Sun Angel Stadium, and I really loved being able to work over there. And I loved it so much that I forgot they were even pole vaulters. Then I went ahead and photographed some of the shot put for a while. And for those of you that are curious, it's Turner Washington. He's a fantastic athlete. I'm really proud to see where he's gone. And I got more interested in athletics, so I took a job as a videographer for the women's water polo team and took some photos alongside it. And I knew nothing about the sport beforehand, and I came away with such a greater respect and understanding for it and the people that play it. It was truly such a fun time. And that really leads into these. I hit a creative rut photographing sports for so long, and I ended up just taking a digital compositing class, and I would put 9 images onto a single negative and scan them. Um, Sometimes I wouldn't do multiple. I mean, the last one was more of a oddity, but I would create these composites that made the images unrecognizable. And I really enjoyed kind of letting the creative process happen and not being very intentional and just kind of trying things out, having a lot of experimentation. So, yeah, that's really what these all resulted from. It was, dozens and dozens of hours sunk into just learning what happens when you mix and mash a bunch of images together. Um, and I looked at my bank account and I realized, hey, I need some money. So I was lucky enough to get hired by Barry Devine to photograph their menu and their storefront, and I did that for a short time. But they still use my photos today on their website, which is really that makes me happy. I feel really good about that. Um, and I started photographing more places that I just frequented. So this is Luana's Coffee and Beer in Phoenix. It's a beautiful space. I was able to photograph some of the trivia nights they hold there, and I just love the overall aesthetic. It was such a pleasure to really work with uh, the owner and the employees, and I love it. I loved working for taking photos for other businesses. And of course, every year people graduate. Everybody's always graduating. And so these were some grad photos I did for a good friend of mine who organizes events for a living, and she lives up in Prescott. So she liked these photos so much that I was able to photograph this event that she held, and I had a lot of fun. It was, again, a way for me to connect with people I normally wouldn't ever talk to just because I had a camera in my hand. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I still go up to Prescott frequently now. And this takes me to about a year and a half ago. This is where really the meat and potatoes of my work starts to come up. I got hired to work for a local gun range. At first taking shots of the interior, and then I would take shots of some classes that we offered. It turns out that they needed a booklet remade stat, and I was the guy to do it. So um, I did a quick photo shoot with all the people that I worked with to get those images ready. And then they let me start photographing some accessories and some products. And it's the first time I really got to go down range. And it became my studio. It became the environment where I take most of my photos. I have the luxury of not having to deal with many customers. And so, yeah, most of the time I can just go down there. But it did introduce some really interesting problems for me. Um, First and foremost is how to even photograph a gun. They don't balance very well, and all the different angles, and it's a very interesting problem to solve as a photographer, where to put the lights and how to hang them up or how to mount them. And so these photos were made using fishing wire and just some very careful spot healing after the fact. But I had to photograph handguns too, and they don't balance well at all. There's almost no common denominator between different handguns except for the barrels. And so I bought a 3D printer and I taught myself some 3D design, and I made this handy little jig for photographing handguns. There's a nice little before and after there. And then I had to photograph rifles, and I had the same problem. So I did the same thing. I 3D printed a little jig to hold them up, and it works very well. And so here's another shot. This is the studio setup, so to say, inside of the range. It has to be very easy and quick to set up and remove, because at any given moment, if a customer walks in, I have to clear the space. So it's interesting. You know, I'm not using any fancy lights. I'm using an air duster can, a stool from the lobby, some Costco lights, pretty much. And I'm able to get some really beautiful results. And that's really what draws me to all of product photography right now, is the studio environment. I love being able to craft and shape images and have that level of control, and also just experiment. And so moving here on out, I'm pursuing better ways to photograph firearms, and I look forward to doing my best and making a strong attempt at moving forward as a product photographer. So thank you for coming to my TED Talk. I'm going to bed. I appreciate you all, and I hope you have a wonderful day.